Don't stand in front of the screens. Welcome, come on in. I want everyone to see the screens. Welcome. So 100 years of love. Guerlain, who has smelt Shalimar before coming to this exhibit? By a raise of hands. Okay, a few of us, fantastic. Let's make the screens a little bit more clear just so everyone can see the presentation. Thank you, fantastic. So we're here at the Waldorf Astoria, a fitting place to celebrate an icon such as Shalimar in the iconic Waldorf Astoria, an emblem of the Art Deco era, just as the Shalimar bottle is. We are so excited to have you here because we've also just opened the world's largest Guerlain spa. So if you have a moment after this presentation, we would love to welcome you up to go explore the breadth of what Guerlain has to offer. See what our services are up there, and it is impeccable. It's incredibly beautiful. But we're celebrating Shalimar today, the first modern amber fragrance. And what does that mean? An amber fragrance is a darker, spicier fragrance. It has these notes, these benzoin, balsamic notes. Think vanilla, gourmand. Prior to Shalimar, women's fragrance was quite quiet, a singular type of floral, rose, violet, not meant to make a statement. Shalimar announces herself before she walks into the room. So if you can imagine every vanilla that you can know from a modern fragrance house, Shalimar has set the blueprint, which is incredibly impressive for us as a house of Guerlain and for the fragrance world. Guerlain has been around since 1828, so nearly 2 centuries of heritage, sourcing beauty from nature, time-tested methods that we continue to use to maintain the integrity of our ingredients, sourcing inspiration from nature to tell a story through fragrance, not merely presenting a scent or a smell, but by creating an artistic composition within the bottle. Let's learn a little bit about how Guerlain has sourced its inspiration that is credited to its timeless nature.
What does it take to be timeless? 5 generations, one name, Guerlain. A precious heirloom, a family affair, the high jeweler of beauty, visionary since 1828. Secrets passed down from one generation to the next, rooted in history, but always looking forward. A brand of firsts, a symphony of scents and sensations. Craftsmanship inspired by art, moved by a passion, beauty, to be shared with all. 200 years of genius noses won the ultimate nose of the 20th century. Meet the perfumer Jacques Guerlain, who dared to experiment. His perfumes were stories of escape, encounters, dreams of elsewhere. A true pioneer, creating scent that would leave a lasting legacy. Shalimar being his ultimate muse, the beating heart of our heritage at Guerlain.
And truly the representation of our beating heart. For these 200 years that Guerlain has been around, Shalimar has been part of our legacy for half of our lifetime. An incredibly impactful fragrance, so it's worthy of this centennial celebration. We look to our founder here, Pierre-François Pascal Guerlain, and he has a quote that is carried through our 5 generations of perfumers you see before you. And it is, make good products, never compromise on quality. And for everything else, have simple ideas and apply them scrupulously. We see this maintained up until today to our current custodians, Delphine Yelk and Thierry Vasser. And we've watched our heritage grow because what's really impactful, you've heard of farm to table? Guerlain offers garden to bottle. We're able to keep our eyes on the process from start to finish. Having such a small number of head perfumers, we are working with the communities in which we're harvesting these raw materials. We don't merely go to the grocery store and say, I want a rose. No, we know what soil we want our rose to grow in. We know the family that's cultivating our rose. We know when we want to harvest our rose for the optimal scent. So again, repeating this notion of art in a bottle. So we'll focus more closely though on Jacques Guerlain, the trailblazer and creator of Shalimar. And so we celebrate Shalimar's 100th birthday, but Jacques Guerlain sourced his inspiration from a legend from over 400 years old. This is from the 17th century out of India, maybe the most famous love story in India, and it is of the Emperor Shah Jahan and his wife, Princess Mumtaz Mahal. He loved her so much that when she lost her life in childbirth, he was completely heartbroken. He had to commemorate her memory in a grand way, so he commissioned a white marble mausoleum, and he laid his love to rest in what we now know as the Taj Mahal, a wonder of the world. 10 years later, he builds the Gardens of Shalimar in tribute to her, these pools and basins of water with fountains and flowers. And in Sanskrit, Shalimar translates into English to Temple of Eternal Love. It is this bold gesture of love that enraptures Jacques Guerlain. He's implored to tell the story of this romance through fragrance. And if we look to the 1920s, we can understand this fascination with Eastern culture. So it makes sense that he would source his inspiration from such a beautiful love story, a bold declaration of love, and when we have the opportunity to smell it, an incredibly bold scent.
How about a bolder gesture, a fragrance that would change scent as we know it? Shalimar, the first amber fragrance. Seduced by the powerful scent of a vanilla note, ethyl vanillin, used in an overdose, giving Shalimar its unprecedented sensuality. Then followed with a bottle designed like a baccarat jewel, designed by Jacques' nephew Raymond Guerlain, and revealed to the public for the first time at the International Exhibition of Decorative Arts, held in Paris in 1925. Elegant curves, cobalt blue stopper, first ever pedestal, a statement captured in a bottle that was ahead of its time, an icon of the Art Deco movement, much alike the Waldorf Astoria, who opened their doors in this very place in 1931, showcasing a bold expression of glamour and becoming the epicenter of the New York social scene, where everyone wanted to be spotted. Cue 1925. Shalimar became the word on everyone's lips. What is she wearing? What is she wearing? What is she wearing? Shalimar crosses the Atlantic from Paris to New York, starting the New York love story, sparking a blaze, a lasting legacy that would enthrall the New York social scene.
What is she wearing? She's wearing Shalimar, but it's innovation in a multitude of ways. We look to the juice, that molecule, the ethyl vanillin that had never been used before. We're finally able to communicate this gourmand scent on the skin with longevity. So it's changed the game technologically for fragrance. Beyond the fragrance and the chemistry, we look to the bottle, winning first place at that 1925 International Exhibition for Decorative Arts, the very exhibition that coined the term Art Deco. So it really speaks to Guerlain consistently being at the nexus of culture and beauty. So we look to this bottle, the stopper, not made blue by mere dye, but by 24 karat gold when it's fired. And then in the basin, we see two convergences of styles. We see the Art Nouveau, which really reflects the curves of nature, and then we see Art Deco, like the Waldorf Astoria, this verticality, this up and down lines that we see on the bottle. And then lastly, I'll point your eyes to the pedestal. Prior to this, fragrance was kept in a mere vessel to be held. We've now elevated it to be a piece of jewelry on your vanity, truly something to be seen. So, it's born in Paris, France, but we really credit its popularity to the rise in the United States. We're watching the shift of fashion and culture move from Paris to Hollywood and New York. It's the 1920s, the flapper age. The hems are getting higher. You don't have to wear a corset as a woman. You can smoke, you can drink, you can go out with a chaperone. And women want their fragrance to reflect the independence that they're experiencing. And so we look to this transatlantic voyage as Shalimar's first trip across the Atlantic. And is the SS Paris. It is 1921. So Shalimar is not available to the public yet. So it is only available to our ambassadress, Madame Guerlain. And she is on this voyage. And this is an actual photo of the ship. So she is on there somewhere wearing Shalimar. And the nature of cruises was not to go to the all-you-can-eat buffet or the magic show at night. It was to wear your best fashion, go to tea, society events, have beautiful dinners, and hobnob with the elite. Trendsetters and culture makers are on this voyage, and they're smelling Madame Guerlain wearing Shalimar and undoubtedly asking, What is she wearing? They get to New York and there is a fervor for Shalimar. We credit this as the first public love affair with Shalimar. But we look here shortly after World War II, and we see the United States soldiers waiting outside our flagship location, 68 Champs-Élysées, to buy a bottle of Shalimar. And it's really poetic because Jacques Guerlain's inspiration is that bold gesture of love. So here are those GIs waiting to bring back a slice of that Parisian luxury for their wives. They may not be able to build a Taj Mahal, but Shalimar will do.
Legends. Andy, Rita, Frida, Ava, Brigitte, capturing the essence of true love in its boldest form. Legend has it that a good girl never dances the tango, smokes, or wears Shalimar. More than a fragrance, Shalimar is a state of mind that is passed down from one generation to the next. The emblem of bold and self-assured femininity, Shalimar embodies a magical sensation with an unforgettable character that captivates women's hearts still today. The spirit continues, led by master perfumers Delphine Jelk and Thierry Vasser, continuously challenging themselves, innovating, creating, and inventing, pushing forward the science and the art of beauty, an icon that has stood the test of time. Few perfumes span ages and fashions without losing their aura. Shalimar is one of them. Since 1925, women have changed their hairdos, their eyelashes, their lipsticks, their noses, their hats, their dresses, their shoes, their shapes, their shopping habits, their husbands, and their ideas about life in general, but not their perfume. That's what it takes to be timeless.
You can change your nose, you can change your husband, but don't change your Shalimar. It is timeless, and it's really reflected in that longevity of these 100 years that we celebrate. And we look to these ads to see how Shalimar has been presented, again, at this nexus of art, evoking a feeling and an emotion. And what I want to point out is the second screen here, and this is the original advertisement for our first New York City location in 1925, showing the Shalimar. I encourage you to make your way around the room to get a closer look at these advertisements, see the little blurbs that they've added to advertise Shalimar, and get a closer look at the bottles. We just ask that you don't open or pick up the bottles. You're welcome to take photos, and then we'll make our way into the second room where we'll experience Shalimar in an olfactory sense. And I'll leave you with the quote again. Legend has it, a good girl never dances the tango, she doesn't smoke, and she doesn't wear Shalimar. We're all gonna wear Shalimar today. In a variety of ways. And so we're going to really look at it as the art of perfume. Again, that idea that we create compositions through our fragrance. Perfume, this idea of creating compositions through our fragrances, telling stories in our perfume. And we have a beautiful jumping off point that we can work with here at the House of Guerlain. And it's what we call our Guerlainade. This is our identity, our signature. It is the 6 exquisite notes that seal the secret promise of Guerlain. And these were established in 1925 when Shalimar was created. All pillars and components of the construction of Shalimar: rose, vanilla, bergamot, iris, jasmine, and tonka. Celebrated raw materials for the House of Guerlain, these time-tested methods that we've worked with these families for generations to distill these precious materials in ways that achieve as much facets that are what the original intention of the fragrance was. We're going to focus closely on 3 of these ingredients, and we're going to analyze it as if it were a symphony. So we'll pass out the top note, and the top note you're experiencing is the bergamot. We worked with the composer and asked the composer to come up with what they thought bergamot might sound like if it was to become music. And this is what they came up with. And I'll play it again. Has anyone smelt bergamot before? Yes? What does it smell like to you?
Lemons, but very light.
Yes, citrus, exactly. So it has this fresh brightness to it. And this top note in Shalimar is what pops off of the composition, like champagne opening, the bubbles. And so the composer likens it to a music box. It twinkles and it sparkles at the top. But our bergamot is also a bit bitter, so it has fire to it. And when you smell it in the Shalimar composition, you'll see what I'm saying. In an amber fragrance, which tends to have these more benzoin balsamic notes, you wouldn't necessarily think of citrus, but the bergamot really acts like Art Deco and lifts this fragrance up to a height that otherwise might be very sweet. And then speaking to the garden to bottle notion, we've been working with the same family in the south of Italy, the Capua family, for 150 years to harvest our bergamot. We've really nuanced the bergamot harvest to achieve exactly what Jacques Guerlain wanted in his composition. We harvest it in November, so it's more bitter than it is juicy and sweet. It's more earthy if you come to it. A real nice earthy grounded citrus rather than a lemonade. We move to the heart note. Jasmine. A favorite. Yes, it's so beautiful. And the composer chooses the pizzicato. So it's the plucking of the strings. This fervor, this direction, certainty. And jasmine is a bright floral. It is full-bodied. It is hyper-feminine. It is a striking scent. So if you wear jasmine, you will be noticed. It announces itself. It's also a very important flower in India. So it makes sense that it would be nestled in the heart of this composition, considering the origin story for Shalimar is that epic love story of the emperor and his princess. Our colleague Maxime was recently in India for the harvest at the end of September with our master perfumer Terry Vosser, and he was speaking to the small batch, how they distill it in such a small batch. They have these thousands of tiny jasmine buds, but it distills but a cup at a time. Truly speaking to the ability to keep those facets. So if you come to this, you might smell notes of strawberry in it, where if it was a larger operation, we could potentially miss these facets due to too high of heat or too long of a time process. Now we move to the base note. And the composer chooses the piano. And the base note is after you've sprayed your fragrance, hours, if you come back, that's what lasts. And so the composer chooses the piano, this foundational instrument. I think of the hammer hitting the chord and the chord vibrating through. It's exactly what your bass note is. It's what lingers with you throughout the day. And in Shalimar, it's our vanilla, a crown jewel of our raw materials that we care so deeply about and we curate meticulously. Aged 21 days, hand pollinated, hand harvested, and even cut using the same knife that Monsieur Guerlain used originally, speaking to the tools of our family being used. So it doesn't smell like a cupcake vanilla, it smells like a cognac. It's leathery, it's earthy, it's spicy. It really is a strong foundation for the base of our Shalimar. And all of these come together to make our 1925 Eau de Parfum Shalimar. You'll smell that bergamot burst off the top. You'll smell the additional guirlandines join in, the tonka, the rose, the iris joining the jasmine, and then the base of the vanilla, that foundation. And remember that molecule we talked about, that ethyl vanillin, the molecule that changed the game for fragrance. It's within this, so it was incredibly new that 100 years ago and still has that brightness today. We'll listen to our master perfumer Thierry Vosser speak about the impact that molecule has had then and last.
Beauté, profondeur, amour. C'est comme si tout d'un coup, il y avait un nouveau mot dans un vocabulaire. Et Jacques Guerlain était séduit par ce mot. Il s'est dit, je vais exprimer quelque chose avec cette matière. Et c'est là, je pense, où il y a un trait de génie, c'est celui d'associer cette matière abstraite à quelque chose de beaucoup plus concret. La rose, le jasmin, ce sont des images que l'on connaît. L'éthylvanilline, tout d'un coup, n'a plus cette image-là. Et donc, c'est de la pure sensation qui est rentrée à l'intérieur de la composition. Ça, c'est nouveau.
Incredibly innovative for 1925. Does anyone have a memory of Shalimar? Did anyone have anyone in their lives that's worn Shalimar?
Yeah.
Yes? Who?
My grandmother.
Yes.
You could come in and just hug her and you could smell it all over
Oh,
the place.
so does that bring it back when
Yeah.
you saw it? Did I
Yeah.
see some more hands over here?
Grandmother.
Grandmother? Grandmother. My grandmother too. I don't like to think about the bad girl quote though. No, it's more of a church association for me. Special occasion, holidays. It's that generational passage from Shalimar, from grandmother to mother. And so as a house of Guerlain, we ask ourselves, how can we bring it to today, to 2025? So I introduced to you Shalimar L'Essence, our readaptation, not a redo, but a tribute to this legacy that Shalimar has had, and to the modern woman, to the modern Guerlain customer. And what did we change? We tributed to our crown jewel ingredient, our vanilla, an overdose of the vanilla. We were very lucky to have our creative director, Delphine Yelk, in-house just a few days ago. And she has a multitudes of points of inspiration that she spoke about, but one that I was drawn to in this reformulation was she looked to Jacques Guerlain's original gesture with the ethyl vanillin, the thing that was so impressive for 1925 for the fragrance world. And she said, let me lean into that. Let me lean into it with an overdose of vanilla in a tripled way. So let's listen to our creative director speak about how she's modernized the scent for today.
Shalimar, c'est le parfum le plus sensuel qui existe. C'est une histoire d'amour incroyable et c'est d'ailleurs un parfum qui est enveloppant comme l'amour. J'ai eu envie, pour ce Shalimar L'Essence, de garder toute cette émotion, d'aller dans son cœur, dans son essence. Donc j'avais 3 vanilles différentes, la vanillée, cette molécule qui a ce côté très gourmand, la teinture de vanille qui est plus gousse, et l'extrait naturel de vanille qui apporte encore d'autres facettes, légèrement épicées, cuirées. J'ai voulu l'associer aussi avec des matières comme certains muscs qui n'existaient pas à l'époque de Jacques Guerlain, et ça apportait une sensualité qui s'inscrit dans l'air du temps. C'est Shalimar, mais c'est Shalimar aujourd'hui.
And so you can smell the differences, right? It's pretty clear. So she reduces that bergamot that we talked about in this new formula. So it has less of that pop of champagne off. It's that less operatic entrance. And she's added white musk and that triple vanilla. So if Shalimar 1925 is a grand opera, Shalimar L'Essence is like contemporary music. Depends on what you want to listen to. So by raise of hands, who loves Shalimar 1925 classic? Yes, yes. Good representation. And then Shalimar L'Essence. You see, I have both up. And I implore you to try a spray here and try a spray here. Layer them. They really complement one another and they'll dry down on all of us differently. At Guerlain, we say you are the last ingredient to your fragrance. And then keeping with this notion of grandmothers wearing Shalimar, this passage from generation to generation, we really wanted to showcase that importance in this campaign.
Shalimar.
It's incredibly iconic, 100 years of love, and we celebrate its legacy with Shalimar L'Essence. And we continue to celebrate, just as Guerlain does traditionally, with collaboration with artists. Every year we collaborate with a different haute couture artist and we ask them to dress our bottle in their medium. And this year we've collaborated with an artist, Janina Malero. She's a textile designer and she works in the medium of feathers. So she manipulates feathers to achieve these beautiful displays. And in this particular bottle, she's dressed our Shalimar L'Essence, the new fragrance. And she's dressed it with inspiration from an original Shalimar wearer, Frida Kahlo. And you can see Frida represented in these vibrant colors, the feminine shape of the motion of the feathers. And it's really fitting that she would dress Shalimar, or that Shalimar was what Frida wore, because when you think of Frida's art and her self-portraiture, it's an unapologetic representation of herself with her unibrow, her mustache. Shalimar is a declaration of love, and it's exciting to think about Frida using it as a declaration of self-love. So this is in the front. You might have missed, if you missed it, it's worth checking it out once more. Only 6 made for the United States, 1 on display here. But let's see it in motion. invite you to continue this exhibit in the next area where we can see other Shalimar bottles dressed by different designers. We could try on Shalimar and you can meet our spa team. And if you're interested, we can arrange for you to go up and visit the new spa. It's completely beautiful. I'll see you out here.
Yeah, what is this?